What's up, y'all? I hope you're all good, feeling blessed. Today, I want to talk about fasting and my views on it. So, I'm a big fan of it. I believe that it works miracles. And I've done a lot of reading on it and done several fasts myself. I believe the first one I did was 1 day long. And this guy said, I did a 2 day fast. And everybody was like, ooh. And I was like, all right, I'll do 3 days. And and then I did a 3 day fast. And because I'm a little bit OCD, I started reading about it. And that led me to that 10-day master cleanse, and the logic and philosophies behind the guy who created it promoting it. And the basis was kind of that if your body is that we eat too much and that certain foods cause inflammation, and that inflammation is the basis for most of the diseases we get, and that if you deprive yourself of those excesses, your body will heal itself. And the body is really amazing and has an immense power to heal itself. And so, there are studies that on like worms and things like that, where if they're given less than their daily required allotment or recommended daily values allowances, they live longer. And so, in reading, that book or pamphlet on the master cleanse, it's about 100 pages long, and it's really interesting. He started making claims that a diet that is low in calories, and healthy foods, natural raw foods, will allow your body to heal itself from anything. And so I really bought into it. And I went to a lot of websites that talked about fasting and the master cleanse. And some of them would have thousands and thousands of comments. And there was always comments of, you're going to kill yourself. This is so unhealthy. And the truth is that the naysayers had never done a fast. And for every one of them, there was 1,000 people who swore by it, who loved it, who thought it had done incredible things for them. And those were the people that had done it. The problem with fasting is that there's no money to be made from it. I have read about a study where they were trying to come up with a pill to replicate the benefits of fasting. And that then led to some research on the benefits that University of Southern California conducted. And they found that a 3 day fast had these incredible uh, regenerative, I could be using that word wrong, benefits. Like, I think your immune system, you regenerated a new immune system in those 3 days. I could be wrong, and I'll try to post a link to that study in the description of this video. And so I tend to be a little bit OCD, and I kept reading about fasting, and my 3 day fast grew to a 5 day fast, which grew to a 7 day fast, which grew to a 14 day fast. And these are all separate individual fasts that I did. The longest one was 14 days. And after a fast that long, you still probably take 7 days to get back to eating regular food. On the 15th day, you would maybe only drink orange juice, fresh squeezed oranges. You wouldn't even buy store bought because you've purified your body so much. And then, you might make a broth of vegetables and just drink the broth the first day. And then the second day, you might eat a soft vegetable. Watermelons are great for breaking a fast, but you wouldn't. I mean, there would be no point to doing it if you were going to eat a piece of fried chicken or a hamburger afterwards. That could even be really dangerous for you. So, so when I did the 14-day fast, I was kind of in a rough spot emotionally, and I think I almost started it like as a punishment for myself, rather than hurt myself in the ways that maybe don't have a coming back from. Fasting was how I could, I don't know, maybe punish myself. And so I used to go out to lunch almost every day. And now I wasn't going to go out to lunch. So I went to the library and I got a book on Christian fasting. And I read in that book that, an example of how Christians would fast, and some of the purpose behind it, in the early Christian days. And so, to give an example, let's say, 7 families lived on one street, and we're all looking out for each other because we're supposed to see each other as brothers and sisters in Christ, right? And in the Lord. And so if one of the husbands passed away and couldn't provide for his family, then people would take different days of fasting, and the food they would prepare and eat that day, they would share it with the family that didn't have it. And so initially when I started fasting, it was, I would say the first 2, 3 fasts were strictly about mental discipline. And then 5, 7, and 10-day fasts became about mental discipline and my belief in the health benefits. And then the 14th day fast was a lot more spiritual. So I said I used to go to lunch every day, and I was in a really rough spot emotionally. And even before the fast, I was kind of there. And so one day I was walking through this park, Cesar Chavez Park, and there's a lot of homeless people that would hang out there. And there was this black lady there that was like, she was pretty tall. She was like 6'1", a little bit heavy set, very kind face. And I was walking through the park, and I think she sensed something, because she came up and she hugged me, in a very motherly way. And I was really grateful for it. And so when I started fasting and I read that book, I thought, oh, you know what? I'll go buy the lunch I was going to eat and give it to her. And so I would do that. And if I didn't see her, I would give it to someone else. But that made my fasting more meaningful. And, I'm sad to say that the last 2 times I saw that woman, she was off her meds and didn't recognize me, and was, talking to herself, living with, a pile of bags next to her on the street. When she gave me the hug, she lived in this in this apartment for folks that maybe are on SSI or things of that sort. Um, and so, anyways, that fast was it was really meaningful, and I was actually going for 21 days, but I didn't make it. Um, and so I would watch YouTube videos about people fasting, and they were funny because people at 21 days, at 26, maybe even 30 days, they'd be on YouTube telling you they've never felt so good and they've never thought so clearly. And they would sound pretty spaced out. And people would tell me, man, you sound spaced out. And some days maybe I did feel spacey. And then other days, I'd never been as sharp in my life. Um, and it fluctuated. Day 6, you might be knocked out, you can't get out of bed, and day 8, you're bouncing off the walls, and you're accomplishing all these things. And day 9, you might be tripping that you're gonna die from this or something. And the truth is, because I'm OCD and I was looking at fasting for a lot of different reasons, and now that was a meaningful fast, but it also led me to the story of one Robert Sands, and he's kind of like he's my he's one of my heroes. He's someone that I look up to and admire. And so Bobby Sands was this guy. He was an Irish Catholic, and he grew up with these kids, and they all played together. It's almost like a gang story. And they were friends. And when he got to like the 7th grade, 8th grade equivalent, over there in Ireland, he noticed that some kids started separating themselves and attacking him because he was Irish and Catholic. And, he grew up to become a man, and he saw that the government itself was supporting that oppression of them. You got to think, in that country, they're all white, but there is a classism and a discrimination where certain groups over there are treated as harshly as other groups are treated over here. And so he stood up and he fought for his people. And he was arrested for it, and he was doing what people would consider gangster shit. I mean, he was doing what people call gangster shit here. But he was doing it to protect his community and his people who were being attacked by a systemic oppression and a systemic governmental oppression. England was disfavoring them, marginalizing them. And he went to prison. And when he went to prison, people like him who had fought back for their community and against the government and the people that were quasi-government supporting them were considered political prisoners. And they had certain statuses and rights afforded to them for that. And Margaret Thatcher, somewhere along the lines, decided that they were just criminals. And took a lot of rights from them. So Bobby Sands and a lot of other allies, his brothers in their struggle, they went on a hunger strike. And Bobby went 67 days. And then he died. And other people also died. Other people rode it out to the death. It wasn't just him. There was a lot of his crew. Well, I don't know, maybe a dozen, but riots erupted, across Ireland and other countries. I think Iran has a square named after him. I uh, I went to a party recently in Richmond, and almost everybody at the party, or a lot of them, they were from the Middle East. Um, they were from Israel, and it was cool because I had a Bobby Sands shirt, and everybody knew who he was. Um, that was cool. They knew his story, they knew his life, and they admired him for his his sacrifice. But to bring it back to something else. So when people are on these chat blogs saying you're gonna die, no one can live 3 days, no one can live 10 days. I know that they don't know what they're talking about. I've done 14, not 1 calorie. You don't even brush your teeth with toothpaste because your body could think it's food and try to trigger the digestive system. Um, you can't chew gum. There's no. If you're true to yourself, you're not gonna cheat. And uh, it's a deep spiritual journey, fasting, and all the religions do it. I believe Buddhists do it. I believe Jewish folks do it. I believe Muslims do it, and Christians do it, um, and even people that don't believe in religion do it because they recognize the health benefits. I I don't want to say I had this, but I had a little skin tag, and when I fasted, that shit went away. It just went away, and the fasts, they're not um quick weight loss solutions, because if you go back to what you were doing, it won't work. But if you do it to kickstart a new diet and lifestyle, they work. You'll lose the weight. You know I'm not in the best shape right now. I tried to do an Ironman, and I was, I think, 11 minutes too slow on the bike. So I rode a bike 114 miles, but I didn't do it fast enough, so they didn't let me go on and do the marathon. But after that, like, I just fell on the couch and just got fat. Like, I couldn't move or do stuff. But I'm gonna start fasting again. Start with 1 day, go to two, and maybe just cap it at 10. Um, People who go 20 days and longer, they if they exert themselves, they try to go on a long hike or go on a long walk, they can have heart attacks and die. Your potassium goes so low, and your potassium regulates your heartbeat. So, if you were to do a fast, there are things you can do to help you prepare for it. You can, start eating a lot of foods with potassium. You could start building yourself up for it, um, to make sure you have your electrolytes there. You can start drinking. I'm a big fan of coconut water, and just drinking it for the electrolytes leading up to a athletic event or a fast. Um, so it's important to know how to lead up to one. What will happen to you when you're going through one? There's certain, on day 3 or 4, you'll hit ketosis, and now your body's feeding off of your fat reserves, instead of sugars, provided by carbohydrates. Some people do a meat only diet. That's not something I think I would do to go into ketosis. I would just rather fast. And I also believe that if you were only to eat vegetables and fruits and raw foods, that you could probably get the same benefits of a fast, but it would just take a lot longer. So, um, doing that might take a year to get what you would get out of 10 days of just water only. And, you would have to drink purified water because the whole purpose is to purify your body. I mean, you could do it for discipline purposes, spiritual purposes, health purposes, but ideally, you can get to a point where you're doing it for all three. Um, and again, go to web pages, do the research for yourself. Um, University of Southern California. I think gerontology is a study, or Jerry at. You know what? I'll try to post a link in the thing. But it was the that group that did the study and found these amazing benefits with 3 days. And again, there's not a lot of studies because there's no money in people healing themselves, and you're not selling them something to do it. So, but they are coming up with a pill. So if you're lazy, they try to come up with a pill that will, you don't gotta suffer. You just take the pill and boss. Look at that fool, Beach, it all over there starving and looking sick. But anyways, I think that covered everything I wanted to share. Much love, and keep your head up.